Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Mirror Dungeon solo video. Today we'll be using one of the most broken identities in recent history, Ring Yi Song. In case you don't remember, he has the ability to randomly inflict any of the major status conditions when he attacks. Back when he first released, Project Moon overlooked the fact that this would have him activate every single status ego gift and was absurdly busted in the Mirror Dungeon. Of course, they've since remedied this issue and now he only activates bleed ego gifts. Even with that fix though, he is still incredibly powerful. All of his skills can roll significantly higher than most identities, and with the amount of coins they have, his damage is also incredibly high, but the most powerful aspect of his kit is easily his skill 2. This skill is a single coin skill with 8 base power and 8 coin power. Already it looks good with it rolling a 16 to 18, but what makes it completely broken is the fact that it has a 40 to 100% chance to reuse the coin twice, depending on how many status effects are on the target. If it gets both rerolls, the maximum damage potential of this skill is around 84. Now that might sound like a lot, and that's because it is, but let me put this into perspective for you. W Dawn's skill 3, Rip Space, is a 5 coin skill that can roll a 31 and needs 10 charge to get to that power. Its maximum damage potential is 95, just 10 points higher than Yi Song's skill 2. The amount of value you're getting from it is nearly equivalent to a charge identity's main payoff skill. It is both more common because it is a skill 2, and the only requirement to reach that level is to either diversify your portfolio or get a little lucky. Aside from his absolutely absurd power level, the other thing he has going for him is decent bleed count application. He also works kind of well in a burn team too for the same reason, but in all honesty, you're just going to be using him for the damage. To start the run off, we take Wound Clarid and Little and To Be Naughty Plushie for our starting gifts and head into Lake World for the first floor. For this floor's boss, we have the Twin Hook Pirates, and they can absolutely be a challenge. For all of Ring Song's strengths, he does have one glaring weakness. He is relatively frail, and having a guard skill instead of an evade means he has no hope of overcoming this weakness. The bleed that the pirates are capable of inflicting is always a substantial amount, and we cannot avoid a good majority of it. Near the beginning, we do get inflicted with enough bleed to bring us below our stagger bar, and without enough skill slots to clash with everything, are staggered. Fortunately, thanks to a random burn, all of the pirates were staggered the same turn, essentially making it so it never happened in the first place. Long fights like this one are certainly not Ring's strength. He has a very strange problem in the way of just being too powerful. Simply put, he kills the enemies too quickly, and thus does not generate enough skill slots to be able to clash with every enemy's attack in the subsequent waves. Ultimately though, this isn't too much of a problem, as most of his attacks get redirected into another enemy, but it still forces him to take some hits that would otherwise be unnecessary. We take Rusted Muzzle for our reward and head into the Unconfronting for the next floor. Here we buy Grand Welcome, Illusory Hunt, Phantom Pain, and Lithograph. We also find Sticky Muck and Coffee and Cranes before making it to Cromer. Cromer is typical like always, force corrosion by turn 3 and win, although this time she is a little more annoying than usual. We don't actually have enough sloth resources to fuel both the overclocked versions of Wishing Cairn and Sunshower. This forces one of them to always be unstable and thus messes with the targeting a bit and makes it difficult to actually corrode into the ego I want, that being Sunshower. Normally I wouldn't actually really care about what ego I corrode into, as it doesn't really matter, but Yi Song has the very unique problem of just doing too much damage. When we corrode and get any less than all 3 Sunshowers, we do not have enough damage to stagger Cromer on the turn we corrode. Normally this is fine as long as you can stagger her the next turn, but Yi Song does more than just that. He completely depletes her entire health bar, forcing her to enter her second phase. Meanwhile, he gets staggered thanks to Cromer's second gaze infliction, and dies the next turn. All we have to do is reset until we get all 3 Sunshowers to stagger Cromer on the third turn, and the rest is incredibly easy. Her second phase is a complete pushover.
앞에 휘청거리는 적이 있군요. 쉽게 처리할 수 있겠습니다.
지압 배치가 흔들리고 있어. 숨기기 딱 한 번 먹었어.
적들의 부위가 파괴되었습니다. 치킨으로 말하자면 승각에서 닭다리 하나가 뜯어내진 꼴이랄까요?
We take Squalidity for our reward and make the absolutely horrible mistake of entering the Noon of Violet for the next floor. Here we find Filial Love and Eclipse of Scarlet Moths before entering the worst encounter of the entire run.
내피랑 먼저 갈
Going into this floor, I knew it would be a huge mistake, but did it anyway because, I don't know, I like suffering, I guess? You see, we are running Yi Song's base ego, which means from the start we are weak to both envy and blunt damage. Guess what type of damage the Fruit of Understanding does?
숨기기 딱 한 번 먹었어.
If that was all, it wouldn't be that big of an issue. Simply use a random ego to change our resistances and we would be able to tank most attacks well enough. The problem with that is that for the first encounter, not the boss encounter, the first encounter, we completely lack sloth resources thanks entirely to Cromer. All of the egos I'm running for this run require sloth resources, which means for the first turn of the first encounter I can do literally nothing. But all hope is not lost. While Ring Yi Song is incredibly weak to the Fruit, they are also incredibly weak to him. We can pretty much one-shot them as long as we get all of our rolls on skill 2 and 3, but even with that, getting out of the first turn is incredibly difficult. The only way, and I do mean only way, to beat these fights without using ego, you need one of the Fruit to use both a defense skill and single coin skill, while another uses at least one single coin skill. On top of that, every single coin they roll needs to roll tails, otherwise you get staggered and then die. This floor legitimately took me over an hour. No, not this floor, the first fucking turn. I legitimately had to stop recording and take a break because it was taking so long. Anyway, after we get through that torturous first turn, the rest of the fight is pretty easy. As I said, they are weak to our damage, and we can pretty much one-shot everything up to the boss, so it's not long after for us to win.
비뚤어졌구려. 이제야 완성되었나?
We take Broken Revolver for a reward and receive Awe as a bonus before heading into the Evil Defining for the next floor. Here we buy Late Bloomer's Tattoo and Special Contract while finding painkillers, which really would have helped on the previous floor. We also fuse Red Stain Gossipium and Respite before heading into the fight against Gas Harpoon. This fight is actually pretty easy, especially when compared to the last floor. The only phase that could prove to be troublesome is the first, with how it mostly does blunt damage. Despite that though, it's still not that threatening all things considered. In fact, I even willingly get staggered knowing painkillers will make it manageable. The main benefit of this is to lower my stagger bar to give a little bit more wiggle room during the third phase, but even that is pretty unnecessary as Yi-Song's damage is more than enough to annihilate every phase in a single turn. We take Smoke Some Wires for our reward and head into Excessive Gluttony for the final floor. Here we buy another skill 2 and make it to the final boss against the Drenched Gossipium. I wish we got a more interesting final boss, but it is what it is. Yi-Song obliterates this thing. It doesn't stand a chance.
마에스트로님이 어떤 평가를 내려주실지 흥분이 가시지 않는구려.
And that's how I soloed Mirror Dungeon 4 hard using only Ring Yi-Song. He is absurdly powerful. Literally the only weakness he has is being relatively frail, but if you're using him on an actual team, that doesn't really matter as you've got 5 more health bars to work with. Anyway, that's it from me. Like and subscribe to not miss next time where we'll be using this identity. Goodbye.